When this lady ties the knot, she doesn't realize she's about to untangle her husband's twisted family secrets, all while dodging crossbows and sharpened axes. So picture this, two scaredy-cat boys stumble into a Victorian mansion that's got more candles than a Bath & Body Works clearance sale. Daniel, the older bro, tells little Alex to hide in a closet, but not before reminding him to organize the shoes in there by color. Just kidding. Just as he closes the door, a wounded guy named Charles hobbles up to Daniel, like, "Dude, help me, someone's trying to off me." But instead of keeping it on the down low, Daniel practically yells it out like an Instagram story spoiler. Suddenly, a whole crew of masked weirdos surrounds Daniel. Charles' wifey, Helene, is all like, "Please don't kill us." But these baddies just ain't having it. Good thing Daniel's got his little brother's back, literally, as he blocks the closet with his body. The group then carries Charles away and Helene's like, "Well, guess I'm with them now," and joins her hubby's kidnappers. Fast forward a few decades and we see a girl named Grace practicing her wedding vows, hoping she doesn't sound like a broken record. In comes her fiancé Alex, who's now all grown up and ready to roast his own family like a Thanksgiving turkey. Gobble gobble. Alex isn't exactly their biggest fan, but Grace is determined to make them like him, even if it means playing nice with the not-so-nice in-laws. Tony, Alex's dad, is bummed that Grace and Alex have been MIA for 2 years, like they'd been abducted by aliens or something. On to Helene and Daniel's wife, Charity, gives Grace a hard time, but Alex's mom, Becky, swoops in like a guardian angel and reassures her that she went through the same hazing when she joined the fam. The wedding goes off without a hitch, and Grace and Alex are all smiles, looking like they've just won the love lottery. Later, they're hanging out in Alex's old room when Helene barges in, totally killing the vibe. She tells them the fam's waiting for them to play some seriously old-school board games. Apparently the family believes their fortune comes from these games, so they play one every time someone joins the family. If you ask me, it's a pretty sus initiation, but hey, to each their own. Grace, eager to impress, is ready to be the queen of board games. Alex lets his dad know he plans to peace out with Grace the next day, leaving their weird traditions behind. Meanwhile, Grace and Becky have a heart-to-heart about Grace's adopted family and how she's always wanted a permanent squad. She spills the tea on Alex not wanting to go through with the wedding initially, but he knew how much it meant to her. Becky gives Grace some major props for bringing out the best in Alex, and they share a sweet moment before diving back into the world of creepy family traditions. So Grace gets asked to convince Alex to stick around, right? Alex, though, is like, "Nope, mom's gonna spill the beans," and drags Grace away. Grace starts getting suspicious about this whole family shindig. Then in walks Alex's sister, Emily, her hubby Fitch, and their kiddos, George and Gabe. Emily is stoked to meet Grace, but Aunt Helene is a total buzzkill, giving her niece the stink eye. They all head to the game room, which is straight out of a taxidermy convention, and Tony dives into their family history. Apparently their great-grandpa Victor was a puzzle-solving boss, and after winning a bet with his antiquities collector, Mr. LaBelle, he turned the family into high rollers, and now they've got this weird tradition of playing games with new family members. Tony passes the game box to Grace, who pulls a card that says hide and seek. The room goes dead silent, and Alex is like, "Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs." Grace has to hide until sunrise to win, but Alex tries to get her out of it. Grace, though, is all about that game life. Little does she know her in-laws are about to go full-on Hunger Games, with less hunger and more shotguns. Grace hides in a dumbwaiter, while Alex is left in the game room with Charity on door duty. Determined to find Grace, Alex escapes to the servants' halls. Meanwhile, Fitch is trying to figure out his crossbow like it's a new iPhone, and eventually takes a bathroom break. Grace, over this twisted game of hide-and-seek, crawls out of the dumbwaiter. Just then she hears Clara the maid searching for little Georgie. Suddenly a hand grabs Grace, and it's Alex, who's like, "Psst, behind the bed." Clara comes in thinking she's found Georgie's hideout, but then bam, Clara gets shot in the head. Rip in peace, Clara. In comes Emily, thinking she's found Grace, but the rest of the fam storms in and scolds her for her itchy trigger finger. Grace overhears them talking about some creepy ritual that needs a living bride. The fam hauls Clara's body away and Alex tells Grace to pack her bags. Grace, meanwhile, is still trying to wrap her head around this bizarre, shotgun-toting version of Meet the Parents. Emily dashes back for the gun, while Alex drags Grace into the hallways like a scene from an amateur theater production. Grace is shaking in her boots, literally, as she puts on her shoes. Alex fills her in on the family gossip because they drew the only evil card. Lucky them. Tradition says if they don't sacrifice Grace, a terrible family curse will strike. Though Alex isn't buying it, he's stuck playing along or he'll get the axe too. Meanwhile, Fitch is eavesdropping on their conversation through the vent, multitasking like a pro as he watches a YouTube tutorial on crossbows for dummies. Alex tells Grace the whole truth, including the part where not playing after the wedding would lead to a fate worse than her uncle's ugly sweater collection. He feared he'd lose her if he spilled the beans about the curse. Alex tells Grace to hide in the serving kitchen while he works on his lock-picking skills. Grace finds herself in a classic which door conundrum, unsure of which leads to the kitchen. She ventures into the hallway only to see Tony and Daniel playing a twisted game of Weekend at Bernie's, with Clara's body. She bolts to the other side where Emily's shooting skills are so bad she misses Grace entirely. Stormtrooper moment. Grace ducks into a room and tries to use the phone, but it's as dead as the party vibe. She hides when she hears a noise and Daniel saunters in. Daniel, ever the gentleman, pours himself a drink and then, in a bizarre act of chivalry, gives Grace a 10-second head start before he calls in the cavalry. Grace runs like she's in a track meet while Daniel counts down. Eventually, he spills the beans about her location. Charity arrives, annoyed that Daniel lost track of Grace. Seriously, dude, you had one job. The rest of the family shows up, acting like their twisted game night is totally normal. Fitch hands his newly acquired crossbow to Emily after she misplaces her gun. Tina, another maid, pops in to share some hot gossip about spotting Grace. But Emily accidentally fires the crossbow and turns Tina into a very unfortunate pincushion. Tina's groans interrupt Helene's dramatic monologue, and the cranky old lady ends her misery with an axe toss straight out of an action movie. Oh wait, Becky suggests using the cameras. The 21st century call. The others agree, but Helene clings to tradition like her grandma's pearls. Grace sneaks into the game room and grabs a rifle and ammo. Alex busts into the security room just as Grace enters the service kitchen. She tries to shoot the still locked door, but surprise, the rifle isn't loaded. She hides when she hears whistling. Who knew this family could carry a tune? Daniel notices the cameras turned back on in the hallway and suspects Alex is behind it. Meanwhile, the butler is casually making tea in the kitchen like he's in a cozy British mystery. Grace struggles to load the rifle when suddenly the butler starts singing like he's auditioning for The Voice. She takes the opportunity to load the rifle without giving herself away. The door lock clicks open and Grace brandishes the rifle at the butler, demanding her freedom. When he refuses, she shoots, only to find out the rifle is as fake as her in-law smiles. Plan B, Grace smashes a teapot into the butler's face. He retaliates with a kitchen knife, and Grace is forced to find another escape route. Just then, Tony enters the security room. Alex goes full Hulk and smashes the controls with the fire extinguisher. Alex then channels his inner WWE wrestler and furiously chokes Tony. Daniel tries to calm his brother down, but while he's distracted, Tony takes a swing and knocks Daniel out cold, giving him a one-way ticket to Dreamland. Grace hears Tony and Daniel gabbing nearby and decides to hide in the dumbwaiter, but surprise! Dora, the last maid standing, is already in there. Dora, clearly not the brightest bulb, screams out that she's found Grace and accidentally pushes the dumbwaiter button. Grace tries to save her, but Dora ends up as flat as a pancake. Ouch. Meanwhile, Tony's playing a kinky game of tie-up with Alex in the bedroom. The butler announces that the windows and doors are wide open. Party time? And Dora's, well, dead. Grace eavesdrops on Helene, who blames Tony for Alex ghosting the family for 2 years. Tony thinks Alex just hates them, but Helene believes Alex is scared of their whole creepy family vibe. Nah, that can't be it. She mentions Alex's encounter with Mr. LaBelle as a youngster and thinks he's destined to lead the family. Fitch is downstairs on the phone, probably planning a post-murder vacation. Grace leaps out the window like a ninja, but he doesn't see her. She sprints down her wedding aisle, talk about a runaway bride, and heads for the gate but stops when she spots someone with a flashlight. Spooky. She dashes into the barn, bumping into little George. Relieved, she approaches him, but the kid shoots her hand. What the heck, George? Grace grits her teeth, then KOs George with a solid punch. Grace is startled by a goat. Aren't we all? And falls into a pit full of dead people. Like the worst ball pit ever. After injuring herself on a nail, she climbs out with her injured hand. Soon, Charity catches a glimpse of Grace and takes a shot, but misses. Time to practice those aim skills, Charity. Or at least download her namebot. She rushes inside to tattle on Grace. Grace reaches the fence but can't climb it due to her injuries. A car approaches and Grace, desperate, pleads for help. The driver just goes, nope, and pieces out. Kinda based. She hides in the woods and spots another car from the Damas estate. Surprise, it's the butler on the hunt for Grace. Tony warns everyone that if Grace survives till morning, they're all toast. Just like another family who failed Mr. LaBelle's test. In the bedroom, Alex is trying to escape the handcuffs, probably regretting his family choices right about now. Meanwhile, Emily and Daniel chuck dead maids into the pit. Daniel thinks their family deserves to die for their sins, but Emily insists her kid shouldn't pay the price. They discover Georgie, who proudly tells them he shot Grace. When Emily praises him, Daniel's hit with the realization that they're brainwashing their own kids. To be fair, that's every parent ever. In the meantime, the butler finds Grace and confronts her, but she's not going down without a fight. She smothers him until he collapses. She jacks his car, not knowing he's still alive, and contacts the car service to call the cops. Unfortunately, the car is reported stolen, and the officer remotely deactivates it. Womp womp. So our girl Grace gets tranquilized by the butler, who probably wished he was starring in a wildlife documentary instead. The Ladamas family thanks the butler via video call, and he cranks up the tunes like he's at a road trip pit stop. Grace wakes up, delivers a foot to his face, and the car crashes harder than my Wi-Fi during a Netflix binge. Grace tries to escape the wreckage but is caught by Daniel, who admits he kinda likes her, but not enough to ditch his whole family. It's like a really twisted episode of The Bachelor. Meanwhile, Alex is chained up in the bedroom, which might be kinky if his mom didn't walk in. She tells him they found Grace, and despite her reluctance to hurt her, family comes first. Grace wakes up on a sacrificial table because these people are seriously messed up. Daniel delivers ritual wine like a demonic sommelier, and just as Tony raises a plate to end Grace, everyone starts vomiting like they chugged expired milk. Daniel frees Grace, and she later bashes Charity's face with a gun. Talk about gun control. Grace finds Daniel dying and insists she leave. She knocks out Tony with a lamp because who doesn't love some good home decor? Then she beats Becky with a puzzle box, putting the puzzle in puzzling family traditions. Later, Alex finds Grace and asks if she'll stick around after all the insanity. She doesn't respond, but lets him touch her face. He then grips her head like a basketball and calls his family to finish the ritual. Alex tries to stab Grace, but only gets her shoulder. So she gets up, points a knife at them, and probably wishes she had a witty one-liner prepared. Just as Helene prepares for the worst, the family starts exploding like really gross fireworks. Grace watches the carnage with a grin. Who wouldn't, right? Finally, Alex, the last survivor, apologizes. But Grace isn't having it. She tosses her ring at him, and he explodes like a rejected love interest in a Tarantino film. Grace walks out of the burning mansion, sits on the steps, and lights up a stolen cigarette. Help arrives, but she's like, whatever, it's over. Moral of the story? Whatever, it's over.